Next on Worcester News Tonight, a Connecticut man is arrested in connection to a Webster kidnapping and sexual assault. The latest details on the investigation. Plus, a new smartphone app is going viral. Some users are wondering if it's safe to use. A local college weighs in on its privacy settings. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Bottary. A Connecticut man is facing serious charges after allegedly kidnapping and sexually assaulting a minor in Webster. An investigation by Webster Police, Connecticut Police, and the FBI led them to the man's home where he was arrested. Tonight, authorities are thanking the public for their role in the case. Our Kim Jandro joins us now live in the studio with those details. Cam?
Police arrested 35-year-old Joshua Basaw. They say he doesn't have much of a criminal record outside of a few minor offenses. For Webster, this was one of their top priorities over the last 6 weeks or so, and they say finally having someone in custody is a huge weight off of their shoulders.
35-year-old Joshua Basaw was taken into custody after allegedly luring a 12-year-old girl into his car and sexually assaulting her back in May.
So the victim went to the May Street Park here in Webster to meet a friend. The friend couldn't make it. Mr. Basaw saw her, enticed her into the car under the false pretenses of some story that he needed some assistance.
Basaw was arrested Wednesday at his Thompson, Connecticut home. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Connecticut, Basaw identified himself as Chuck and drove the girl into an isolated wooded area just over the Massachusetts-Connecticut border. Following the alleged assault, Basaw then brought the 12-year-old back into Massachusetts and left her in an unfamiliar neighborhood.
He dropped her off over in Dudley, which is the town next door, and she was fortunately to come across somebody that was able to help her contact her mother.
Webster Police Chief Michael Shaw says surveillance footage from nearby homes led them to Basaw. The FBI then followed the suspect on multiple occasions. They found DNA from a cigarette, which matched the DNA evidence collected from the victim.
This was a case of good old-fashioned police work and technology mixing. They did a phenomenal job of identifying who Mr. Basaw was.
Now, Basaw faces multiple federal charges, including kidnapping as well as transportation of a minor for illegal sexual activity. Both of those carry maximum sentences of life in prison. Basaw currently is in a federal detention center in Connecticut. Live in the studio tonight, I'm Kim Jandro, Worcester News Tonight.
A 3-alarm fire causing significant damage to a home in Southbridge this evening. Flames broke out at a home on Marcy Street around 6:30 p.m. According to the Southbridge Fire Department, the first crew on scene saw smoke coming from the eaves. Firefighters made their way to the 3rd floor, knocking down flames in the attic. Fire Chief Paul Normandin says they're investigating all possible causes.
We did have a very strong thunderstorm come through this area, just like everybody else has experienced pretty much today. We're not sure if that is a contributing factor to this fire, but we will be doing the investigation looking at all causes, or possible causes.
He says 5 people made it out safe out of the 2-family home, and Red Cross has been contacted. Also in Southbridge, a Worcester man is arrested on several outstanding warrants Wednesday. Southbridge Police, State Police, and members of the U.S. Marshals located 33-year-old Concepcion Rodriguez hiding in the basement of a High Street apartment. He was arrested on several warrants, including firearm, discharge within 500 feet of a building, assault and battery with a firearm, and assault to commit a felony. Police say after processing Rodriguez, he was brought to Fitchburg District Court, where he was arraigned on charges related to a shooting which occurred in Fitchburg last month. A smartphone app allowing users to turn pictures of themselves into older versions is going viral. But now users are raising concerns about the company's privacy policy. The terms of the Russian-owned app include warning about what they may actually be doing with your photos. But a local expert says it's not much different than our other apps. Our Chandler Walsh has more.
A viral app uses artificial intelligence to show people what they could look like in 50 years. FaceApp has millions of users, and it's one of the most downloaded apps across the globe.
Good 70-80% of the people that I see on my Facebook right now are kind of popping up using it.
Kristen Cheerai is curious what she'd look like, but isn't downloading FaceApp to see.
I don't really know what's happening to the information I'm putting on an app like that. So I'm a little bit skeptical to begin with.
The app was developed by Wireless Lab in St. Petersburg, Russia in 2017. It's now raising privacy concerns for taking personal information, data, and photos.
In some ways, there's not a lot to be afraid of. In other ways, you have to be a little cautious. Whenever I see one of these viral apps, I ask myself, what do these people want?
Monty Sharma is a software and technology expert at Becker College. He says people should look into how an app is making its money to see if there's cause for concern.
If they're not making any money, then they want my data, and then I become concerned. This company seems to be wanting to make money. They show you ads, they sell you pros. So not that big of a concern.
Sharma says security researchers looked into FaceApp. He says the app is most likely not using all of the information it says it's taking.
They know what's being sent, they know where it's going, they know what's going on. All of those things are there and it's not a big concern. The quizzes on Facebook that ask you a whole bunch of personal questions, they're more dangerous.
For many, the wrinkly aged photos are too interesting to pass up.
You just have to be smart about how you're putting your information out there.
Sharma says there's a lot of great technology coming out of Russia right now, and the app's origin isn't indicative of anything greater or cause for concern. In Worcester, Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
A UMass Medical School professor receives a presidential award for research on a skin disease. Dr. John Harris has been conducting research for more than 5 years on the cause of vitiligo, an autoimmune skin disease. In June, he announced promising data from a clinical trial for a new topical treatment. According to the study, people who used it saw significant improvement in their skin. He says it affects 1 in 100 people, and patients he's worked with are happy to see the research being done.
Run a vitiligo clinic once a week where patients come to see me from all over the world, and the reason that they come is because they know that we're studying it, we're developing treatments, and I think that they're really optimistic that we're going to have something soon. We are too.
Dr. Harris will receive the Presidential Early Career Award for Scientists and Engineers on July 25th in Washington, D.C. Summer vacation is in full swing, but some students in Worcester are taking a break from vacation and getting back to work. The city manager's youth council is made up of Worcester students from different public high schools who give a voice to students. Supervisor Kathy Esperanza says it's great to see so many students come to the first meeting for the 2019-2020 school year and hopes they keep the momentum rolling from previous years.
A group of high school students that represent the whole city of Worcester, and they serve as the voice of young people in our community. So the whole purpose of them is to recommend any suggestions, feedback about the policies and issues that are impacting our young people in the community.
The council started in 2012 and has worked on many projects. Last year, the council worked on helping homeless students in the Worcester school system. Nurses impacted by assault in the workplace are set to testify tomorrow in favor of workplace violence prevention bill. A Worcester Recovery Center and hospital registered nurse is hoping sharing his experiences will help push legislation to solve the problem. Our Rosalind Flaherty has more.
Nurse Bill King says he's been attacked by patients multiple times while on the job at Worcester Recovery Center and Hospital. He says most recently a patient broke his nose in 5 places.
It was out 2 months. There was blood everywhere. It was a very nasty scene, and he was very violent.
It's why he and other nurses from across the state are pushing for a workplace violence and prevention bill. They will testify about their experiences at the State House Thursday.
We're really getting concerned because the violence is getting out of hand. We're not the hospital we used to be.
According to the Massachusetts Nurses Association, there have been 381 reported assaults on staff at Worcester Recovery Center over the past 3 years, including 96 resulting in injuries needing medical attention. The legislation would require healthcare employees to perform annual safety risk assessments and time off for workers assaulted on the job.
It would be difficult enough to treat psychiatric patients, never mind now more violent psychiatric patients, and then you start bringing in heroin, fentanyl, weapons that get in.
Senator Mike Moore says it's a safety issue and it needs to be addressed. He supports the bill.
If we have that rate of injury, that's going to result in lost work time. The least we can do is provide them with the safety of these types of programs and making sure that their welfare is being looked after.
King has worked at the recovery center for 26 years. He says the violence is worse now than ever before, and he wants change now.
You go in there, you don't know what you're going to get.
Rosalind Flaherty, Worcester News Tonight.
Farm animal owners in Holden will no longer have to pay an excise tax on their animals. A Holden woman spent the last year working to change the tax in town. Our Brittany Schaefer has the story.
Christine Shostak changes a decades-old tax in the town of Holden.
You can fight City Hall, you can make a difference.
The longtime Holden resident got the town to stop enforcing the farm animal excise tax. Shostak rescued 4 cows, 3 horses, and some chickens. She says under the previous law, she would owe the town about $80 every year.
The tax on these animals seemed to be wrong because you're taxing a little girl who has a horse in the backyard, you're taxing someone who's rescuing animals, you're taxing someone who maybe has a flock of laying hens to teach their kids where their food comes from. It wasn't about the money, it was just about the principle that we shouldn't be taxing something, providing a disincentive for something that we really should be encouraging in town.
Shostak started the process a year ago and says it wasn't easy.
I went out and got signatures, 100 signatures to get it on the warrant, and at the last minute discovered that the state required this tax to be repealed on the ballot. And about 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from the town manager saying they found that they could find a way to stop collecting the tax.
Shostak says she didn't have a lot of support along the way, but advises anyone to stick up for what they believe is right.
Your heart is in the right place, and you can make a difference. You just have to make an effort and give it a shot.
Holden Board of Selectmen Chair Anthony Renzoni says in a statement sent to Worcester News Tonight, quote, "We have always enjoyed a great relationship with our agricultural community, and I was glad to hear our town manager was able to work with them to resolve the issue, and that we did reach out to the town manager for comment but did not hear back." Brittany Schaefer, Worcester News Tonight.
Still ahead, we'll get a check of our local forecast. Plus, a couple